What's going on, brothers? Welcome back to Brotherhood Finance. In today's video, we have a very special guest, Mr. Tyler Bossetti. He is a very well-known real estate mogul and entrepreneur, masters in real estate development. We have our other co-host, Cole Nichter. Before we dive into this awesome podcast today, make sure to smash that thumbs up button down below, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out his links down below if you're interested in everything he has to do and everything he's going to be explained today. Furthermore, I'm going to toss it over to Tyler, let him introduce himself and everything more. Thank you very much.
Yo, what's up, Brendan and Cole? Appreciate you guys having me on here. Give you guys a quick 30,000-foot view of who I am, what I do. My name is Tyler Bossetti. I live part-time in Columbus, Ohio, and part-time in Miami, Florida. We have a few different companies, co-founder of a company called 0%. We focus on consulting, helping entrepreneurs get access to 0% and low interest capital to start and scale a business, and really just overall build the foundation of their finances and the foundation of their investments. We have 5 different crypto hedge funds, and then we also have our real estate development company that we focus on multiple different things when it comes to traditional type real estate investments, Airbnbs, the BRRRR strategy, which some of your listeners might have heard of, and now we're scaling into some larger developments. We have about 70 plus million of developments in the real estate sector that we'll be breaking ground on, and excited to share more on this show with you guys today.
Awesome. I appreciate all the insight, brother. And yeah, dude, I'm definitely interested to inform our audience and stuff like that about, all of your experience in real estate development, and not only that, but, 0%, how you're helping people, achieve financial freedom and how you can positively impact their lives. So I'm definitely, happy to get going into these questions, and I'll let Cole take over and ask you some of the first questions, and I'm excited to get going. So
yeah. So one of the first things I think, obviously you touched upon, you're part of 0%. We're curious, and as well as our audience, tell us a little bit more about 0%, what you do, what you contribute to, and where people can find you, and kind of overall, if they want to kick off their investing career, how they can do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I'm sure you guys are aware, as I'm sure your listeners are aware, our current education system doesn't educate us around money, around credit, around investments. So I met my business partner, Jeff Seckinger. He lives down in Miami. He's originally from Columbus, Ohio as well. And, about 3.5 years ago, we, partnered up. We founded our company 0%, and its core focus of the company and the core focus of our programs is credit, leveraging other people's money, because I believe that it's the foundation of people's finances, right? Whether you're getting student loans, whether you're getting a car, whether you're getting a house, no matter what you're doing in the United States and in most countries, but specifically in the United States, it is definitely in your best interest to not only have credit, but also have good credit, right? That allows you to do all the things I listed out much more. Now, when it comes to the financial independence side, that's a word that is used quite often. One way to accelerate that journey to getting to financial independence and keeping it and growing your financial independence, in other words, where you have enough assets in place that's paying you passive income, where you don't have to keep exchanging your time, you don't have to keep working, right? Is getting access to other people's money. 80% of businesses fail within 5 years because they're burning through their cash, right? We're taught that debt is bad, but in reality, debt is opportunity. There's a difference between bad debt and good debt. So what we do with 0% is we help entrepreneurs, or we help people that are inspiring to be entrepreneurs to, number one, eliminate bad debt, eliminate high interest debt. Number two, scale their business using other people's money, whether it's through a 0% personal or business credit card, lines of credit. There's a lot of different, creative financing options that we share with people as well. And then also creating more passive income. So whether that's investing as a private money lender in our real estate deals, or whether it's getting into our mining facilities or other things that we're doing in the blockchain and the crypto space, the goal is to help people get other people's money, produce more income, and keep and compound that, right? So that's what we do at 0%, is we're educating people with overall financial literacy and how to get access to capital so they can do whatever the hell they want to do with it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tyler, I really like that you mentioned on, how you want to use other people's money. And that kind of reminds me of, what Robert Kiyosaki likes to say, that there's good debt and bad debt. And it's all about being able to utilize good debt to create multiple streams of income. As you mentioned, you have earned income, you have passive income, and you really want to maximize your passive income because that's the least taxed. And that's the way that you're going to make, the most ROI, or return on your investment, is by generating passive income. Something that's also pretty awesome is my partner, Cole Nichter, kind of much like you and Jeff's story. By the way, I have tremendous amount of respect for Jeff. Very knowledgeable dude. I watch pretty much every single one of his crypto podcasts. So, definitely check out his information down below, and make sure to link Jeff Settinger down below if you guys want to check out his YouTube channel. But me and Cole are actually originally from Ohio as well. So, it's crazy. It's a small world. So, but yeah, dude, just touching up on what you were saying, we really preach to our audience also because, we have more of, millennials and younger generations. And, a lot of them, they go to college, they get bad debt, they're living above their means. And we really preach, earn your money, keep your money, and multiply your money, and get enough financial education needed. That way you can create passive income and financial freedom for your family. And I 100% agree that starts with, getting a good credit score, building your credit, having smart financial IQ and aptitude and abilities to be able to do those things and really grow and scale your business. And that really mainly starts with, utilizing other people's money to create streams of passive income. So I agree 100%. And I'm also very interested more about, what you guys do at 0% and some of those skills and stuff you mentioned. But Cole, I'll let kind of take it over. I don't want to talk too much.
Yeah, you're good. So one of the, I was reading a little bit about you, and especially, if you look at people, for an example, Robert Kiyosaki, Grant Cardone, you can name all these people that kind of, they talk about real estate, how it's the best investment, how you get from point A to point Z, but they don't teach you the in between and how to get to that point. One of the first things I was reading up on you is I saw your first investment was a setback with a fire. How did you overcome to get to where you are today?
Yeah, great questions. And kind of going back to what you had mentioned with some pretty big names, Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, tons of respect, a lot of inspiration. In fact, some of them are my mentors. I think that the in-between can be a little confusing, and the reasoning why, in my personal opinion, is 95% of people don't have an investment property. So knowing that statistic, knowing that data, if I can just help somebody get their first property, I'm pretty confident that they're going to find how to get the second one, the 10th one, the 100th one, right? So to that point, though, you have to figure out what is aligning with your beliefs, what is aligning with your lifestyle. For me, the first property I purchased back in 2016, I had just dropped out of college in March 2016. I got into the mortgage industry. So I started learning a phenomenal industry. I started learning about credit. I started learning how to calculate income and what banks are looking at from credit, income, and assets. I started learning about different loan programs. I can leverage a first-time homebuyer program. The state of Ohio is going to give me 5% for the down payment of the purchase of the duplex, live in one side without the other. That's referred to as the house hacking model. And, sure enough, a couple months later, someone broke into my property, lit it on fire. And that came with a whole other set of lessons and adversity. I believe that in life, you have to go through self-inflicted adversity and life adversity. That's how we really grow, is from quote unquote pain or suffering, however you want to view it. And it doesn't always have to be bad, right? And so when it comes to money, a lot of principles we hear from very successful people that have a lot of money, like Warren Buffett, for example, is protect what you have. So number one, I figured out, okay, a phenomenal strategy to get started is to use other people's money, use the state's money, to not get one door, to get two doors. So I can rent out the other side, live for free, have a friend live with me. I'm literally making money on a $300,000 asset, and I didn't touch any of my capital, right? But also I learned not if something's going to go wrong when you're investing or in business or in life, it's always when something's going to go wrong. So that helped shape my mindset around investing, around money, around just life in general. And that also, taught me the core principle of investing, of money, of real estate, which is protect what you have. making sure that you're removing your personal liability. In other words, it's typically in your best interest to have assets in an LLC or in an entity to remove that personal liability. I'm not giving you guys tax or legal advice by any means if you're listening in here, but also insurance. Majority of people actually don't even have the right insurance on their house, let alone their investment properties. So again, it's not if something's going to go wrong, it's when something's going to go wrong. And I learned a lot. So when I'm raising money, I know what it's like to go through all those obstacles, and I can articulate to our investor, here's how you're protected, right, by X, Y, Z. And I've already gone through it, right? And I'm comfortable sharing that. And it makes people feel very comfortable as well when I've already gone through that.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest part about, especially investing in properties and stuff like that is, a lot of people don't put in consideration, the property, the taxes that come with it, the overall, if, the AC unit breaks, if something, along those lines break, if you have leakage from the roof, whatever it may be, these are a lot of things that people don't consider. So it's like when, you're talking to somebody about investing in a property and doing such, it's like, it's almost good to have, that extra place. Like you said, you bought a duplex and you live in one side, and let's say something goes out, you're more likely to fix it up quicker because you're living in it as well. So,
well, most people, no matter if it's real estate investing or they're trying to lose weight or they're trying to accomplish any type of goal, they're looking for every reason not to do it versus looking for every reason to do it. The day I moved into the duplex, I go to take a shower and the hot water wasn't working. So, all right, don't know what the hell's going on. I can't even put a fucking TV on the wall. So how am I going to figure out how the hot water is not working? Went over to the other side because it was vacant. Literally just got the keys. Hot water's not working either. Well, what the hell? Both the hot water heaters were broken, and it was missed in the inspection. It was missed in the appraisal. And guess what? That's when I also learned about warranty. Hey, I have a year warranty where these big ticket items can be covered. And I think that's where a lot of people, the point I'm making with this is a lot of people are focused on step 5 versus step 1. And if you have the mindset of, yeah, something's going to go wrong and that's okay, right? Getting access to information, listening to podcasts like this. But in reality, how many more podcasts are you going to listen to Tyler Bossetti, Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, Cole Brendan until you actually go take action? And, in worst case, hey, you say, I don't want to do all that shit. That's totally fine. You passively invest.
Yeah. So someone brought up a great question in the chat. They said, did someone invest with you when you got started in your first property, or was it just you?
Just me. I used a first-time homebuyer program. State of Ohio gave me 5% down. I believe it worked out to be like around $15,000. Again, lived in one side, rented out the other. Someone came into my property, burnt it out. I went under investigation with the insurance company because the most common fires is arson, aka the homeowner trying to get paid out on insurance. I showed them, I had alibis, I had cameras of the bar that I was at that night on a Saturday night. They went through all my financials, bank statements, investment accounts. It was very evident I had nothing to do with it. It was a very unique situation. And from there, I learned about warranty, I learned about insurance. When they wrote me a check to fix the property and to replace literally lost everything overnight, there wasn't a firewall in between the duplex. So that's when I started learning about renovation and making sure your property's up to code, right? And so then I sold the property, and once it was fixed up, I'm like, hell no, I'm not living here. Don't know who's coming after me, what I did wrong, all this crazy stuff. That's conversation for another day, or go watch videos on the full situation. I sold the property. I'm like, oh, sweet. I just made like 50 grand. The property went from being worth like 290, 300 to like 350. Right. But guess what? Then I learned about taxes. I learned about capital gains tax. And that's when I started learning about 1031 exchange. And this is why the most amount of millionaires have either real estate in their portfolio or they're made from real estate, because it is, in my personal opinion, the perfect asset that has the safety, security, but most importantly, the tax advantages to what Brendan had mentioned earlier. Allows you to earn income, keep it, and multiply it through tax advantages, right? So that's when I also learned about, oh, okay, we have to have an exit in mind for every single deal, aka these things called taxes are our highest expense in life. How do I mitigate that and or eliminate that? And the perfect tool an asset to do so, in my opinion, is real estate.
Yeah, Tyler, I just want to elaborate real quick on what you and Cole mentioned. As you know, you're spitting out a tremendous amount of information for our audience, and also a lot of great experiences that you can utilize and then give to your guys' clients, of the experiences that you went through. But I agree 100% that real estate, you really need to understand that asset vehicle better than any other asset vehicle, because you got to look at the NOI, you have to look at the cash flow from the property, the location, and having that experience and going into it is really something that like Cole mentioned, you need to have somebody that has been through it. That way you can go from step 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and the process is better. Not to mention, as you said, real estate really does generate the most millionaires, and it's because it has appreciation, tax write-offs, cash flow, amortization, depreciation, and all of those aspects. And you're able to leverage your money with a small portion of money, through leverage. And then you're able to use tax code 1031 to roll that asset into another asset that's even larger when the debtors and the people that lived in it pay down the initial mortgage or the loan. So I love all this knowledge that you're spitting, and you're able to, pretty much give it to our audience in a great way. And I agree 100%. So I just wanted to touch up on that, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Rolling into what we have next is, so how did you save for your first investment, and where did you park your money, or where did you keep your money? Did you keep it in liquid cash? Did you keep it in the bank? Or where is it in another digitalized asset? What can you touch up on that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I used the first time homebuyer grant program, but we are in a revolutionary time. I refer to it as this new economy, where, as I'm sure you guys are aware, and your audience is becoming more aware, this lovely thing called inflation and the purchasing power of a dollar. So I do believe that it's in people's best interest to typically have a couple months of reserves. In other words, what does it cost for you to live? If it's $1,000 a month, couple $1,000 a month, ideally you have, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 of cash sitting in your bank account, right? But let's face it, 80% of people are paycheck to paycheck, right? So even getting to that point is a huge win. Why is that? They have bad debt. They have high interest debt. So that comes down to our company's 0%, and it's core philosophy. How do we eliminate high interest debt? By rolling over, doing balance transfers over to these lower interest credit cards or lines of credit, or 0%. So then people can get their head out of water, right? They're not treading water now. Now we need to start producing income. But back to my point here is, with cryptocurrency, where people can have that same cash in a stable coin like USDC and put that cash into an exchange like Celsius or like Voyager, these other platforms that I believe in the last couple of days, they just changed how much interest they were paying out. It was a pretty absurd amount of interest they were paying out, but it's liquid, right? You have it in a stable coin in crypto where it's earning interest, right? Your bank account's earning 0.05% best case scenario. And on these interest accounts, it could be earning, 6, 7, 8%. At one point it was double digits. The point I'm getting at, you click a button and that cash is in your bank account. But better yet, what if you secure 50 to 150K of 0% capital through a personal card or a business card, liquidate the money off the card. That is not going to charge you a high amount of fees to do so. There's legal ways to pull money off of a credit card. And that's exactly what we share and teach in our consulting programs. Take that 100K, let's say, that you get, use a hard money lender to fund the rest of it, or use private money, someone in your network, family member, friend, a fellow investor. Boom, you just used a credit card to 100% finance a deal, whether you use a hard money lender, right, that has way less restrictions like credit, income, assets, or again, someone in your network may fund the rest of the deal, right? And that is a phenomenal way to get into real estate. And then from there, you've overcome the biggest obstacle, in my opinion, which is getting that first deal.
Yeah, 100%. Going back to what you were saying about cryptocurrency is, I tell our audience here at Brotherhood Finances, I really visualize cryptocurrency as like the internet of the 1980s. And going back to what you were saying about inflation, and a lot of people don't, can grasp inflation. I mean, what do we have? CPI at 7.8%. So inflation's at 7.8%, the highest since 1982. So almost 30 or 40 years now. And that's because, again, they've printed, like you mentioned. Well, going back, 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So you got to, be able to save up some money for reserves to be able to buy your first property. But not only that, but, cryptocurrency is just evolutionizing the whole, technological advancements in the financial industry. And, I know that's something that Jeff really, is a master at and can spit knowledge on. I agree that, cryptocurrency is evolutionizing the ways things are done. We've seen, massive amount of money printing from our U.S. governments, and people need another reserve currency that's going to be able to have a limited supply. And, as you know, Bitcoin has 21 million and about, I want to say it's like 18.7 million are mined currently right now. 460 are mined a day. And that creates that supply and demand effect, much like gold. We are able to have a store of wealth. And, I think we're going to see just over time a huge transformation of wealth, from, because you're seeing these big organizations and companies like BlackRock and these, that are getting involved in cryptocurrency. And they're really, pretty much getting and grasping how it's going to transform the future. So I'm definitely excited for that. And I agree 100%. And yeah, man, I really appreciate the knowledge.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So I think, kind of chiming in on just the overall, how you were presenting it's crazy how, you were saying that, most Americans, like we said, 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. But it's even more crazy that, about 50% of people can't even pay for a $500 medical expense because they're so far into credit card debt. They're so far into, these bad debts. And, when people, especially, whether it's, generation above us or, especially like my grandparents and stuff like that, they were always taught, get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt. And I think that, though that those people passed it down to our generation and things like that. So whenever someone has a $40 expense, let's say they went out and got sushi on their credit card, they're always immediate wanting to pay it right off because they've always been taught pay it off, pay it off, pay it off. Where, if they basically, let it override a little bit, it would help out the credit score a little more. But to kind of go on to, I guess, the next question, like talking about percentages, what percentage of your check did you save each week or month in order to purchase your first investment?
What was the question? What percentage of my check?
Yeah, what percentage of your check or a month did you to help to build liquid in order to buy your first purchase of your investment?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I want to reiterate to your guys' audience is it doesn't have to be your money. Now, I'm not saying that you should be hounding your family members. You should be hounding people to give you money, but we got to start thinking a little bit differently, right? The wealthiest people in the world typically do the 180 of the masses. So again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't use your own money for your first deal. If anything, it is typically in your best interest to do so you can build some credibility. You know what it feels like to have your own money in a deal because it's like getting into a mastermind program. I'm saying similar things in our mastermind program that I'm saying right here, but people are paying thousands of dollars to hear that information. So they take it a little bit more serious. They actually take action on it, right? Same thing with the real estate deal. If you're putting your own money into it, you're going to make sure shit's getting done with the property management, the general contractors out there, making sure that guests are getting taken care of if it's a short-term rental, things of that nature. But that's what I want to challenge the listener on today is how can I use other people's money? How can I get access to 0% or low interest capital through the bank, such as personal or business credit cards or lines of credit? Or how can I leverage my retirement account, right? I'm in a 9-to-5 job. If I pull from that retirement account, I'm going to have a 10% penalty and then have to pay ordinary income tax on that. Well, hey, what if I roll it over to a self-directed account, right? What if I go set up an LLC, set up a solo 401k, or set up a self-directed IRA account, move that retirement over there. Now that it's self-directed, you have control of it, right? Not your employer. Oh, well, they're not matching it. Who gives a fuck that they're not matching it? Now you can pull a loan against it, debt-free. When you're making payments on it, it's you paying yourself back. Now you can leverage that retirement account, or better yet, people in your network can go do the same thing. And you don't care that your employer is not matching the 3%. Like you just said, Brendan, inflation's, I think it's like actually 8.1%, the CPI report, but we all know that the government doesn't tell the truth. It's actually probably double that or triple that. So in reality, if you're not making, in my personal opinion, 20+% return on your cash, you're actually losing. So how do we use other people's money, and how do we get creative, right? How do we get creative by leveraging retirement accounts, 0%, low interest, raising private money, doing a combination of hard money and raising private money, right? And that's obviously exactly what we teach in our consulting programs and what we share in content every single day.
For sure, 100%, dude. Going back to even what you were saying, I think what Cole tried to elaborate on earlier is what our parents really, taught us and really tried to teach us up on was, earn money and, work hard and save and don't get into debt. And really in today's, timeline and the way everything's happening is you really need to figure out, how to get into good debt, how to leverage other people's money and some of the things that you're saying, because it's a completely different psychology and philosophy that we need to utilize now to actually achieve financial freedom. Because the things that worked, 20, 30 years ago, when banks were paying you a higher interest rate, when you were able to save, and when those methods and you could utilize those things, you just can't do those today to achieve financial freedom. And I think that's really what separates 0% and what you and Jeff are really accomplishing right now, and how you're scaling your business so well, because people are starting to understand that you need to, try a different method and strategy that's actually going to be useful, like using the innovation of technology and being able to use, debt. Because as, going back to what Robert likes to say, and all these high, entrepreneurs and people that we look up to as mentors, their first thing is, utilizing other people's money at a low interest rate and be able to create passive income from that. So I'm happy that our audience is going to be able to see that and really start to visualize, how important it is to use other people's money and, to utilize debt and leverage it to create passive income and financial freedom.
Or just don't bitch about it, right? If you don't want to use other people's money, you don't want to refinance your mortgage to get cash out tax-free. If you don't want to go get credit cards, you don't want to move your retirement account over, you don't want to go buy Bitcoin and then pull a loan against it at a healthy loan to value to get tax-free money on an asset that's growing over 100%, then don't bitch about it when people are taking calculated risk, right? Because it is risk. It is risk to go get a credit card, get loans, get a loan against your Bitcoin. But then just don't complain when you have to work a shitty job and you're complaining about your shitty $40 sushi, right? So that's my biggest thing that I can't absolutely stand at all. So
yeah, so obviously you over the last 30 minutes you kind of gone about how you have real estate, and we talked a little bit about your first deal. So obviously I saw something you did around 4,000 plus transactions through real estate of that nature. With all the experience that you have in the field, what's like the number one mistake that you see normal people make? Or if they come to you, they say, hey, this is what I did, how do I fix it?
Sure. A few things. I've made many mistakes, but I thankfully have never lost money on a real estate deal, right? So number one is knowing that statistic of 95% of people don't have a rental property. Well, why? Why is that? There's two reasons. We've talked about it for 30 minutes now. They have to have all this cash. They have to save up their whole life and, grind it out. But in reality, your dollar is losing 20% of value year after year after year. And that's just going to continue to go up, right? So it's going to be borderline impossible to save your way to financial independence. I think we've all discovered that, right? And number two, you have to have all this experience. I have zero clue how to put drywall up. I have zero clue how to hang a TV on a wall. The point I'm getting at is I have bought properties that if the wind blows a little too hard that day, it's going to collapse, right? But it's because I focus on three things: people, processes, and profit. So you don't need to be an expert property manager. You don't need to be an expert short-term rental Airbnb guru. You don't need to be an interior designer, a general contractor. There's already people there that have the process in place to make profit. You just need to become educated on how do you find good deals? How do you fund those deals? How do you manage those deals? And what is the exit in mind? Am I going to keep this asset to cash flow? So I need to start becoming educated on what banks are looking at to refinance. Am I going to sell this property? what are properties in the area selling for, right? If I'm going to keep it, I need probably a property manager. Well, why don't you just self-manage it yourself so you can learn and blah, 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 blah. Well, why not accelerate the learning curve? Maybe you do need a self-manager. That's someone's belief. They want to go fix the toilets. They want to figure out what's going on. Or why? Why not deploy that time, energy into finding the next deal or finding the next person that's going to fund the deal for you? That property manager, they've been in business for 20 years. They manage hundreds of assets, thousands of assets. If anything, you'll realize, hey, I need to cut this cost out, and I'm just going to duplicate the process. So I think that the two things in terms of the mistakes, by far the biggest mistakes, I use my own money. I have to have all this experience, and they don't focus on getting that first property, and they don't focus on people, processes, profit, right? They're worried about step 3 versus step 1.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, really just getting your foot in the door and going through the process. I feel like, what you were elaborating on earlier is people just need to take that first step and get involved in real estate. And if they need somebody, to look out and, that's been experiencing through it, that's where they can hit up 0%, or someone like yourself who has a multitude of experience that can really, walk them along in the right process. Something that's interesting too is if you don't know, Cole's he's working on his real estate license right now, and I'll be moving to Florida, so we'll both be in Florida. So, yeah, dude, he's going to be able to evaluate the properties, and I eventually want to be able to be the property manager because I love real estate much like you. I'm not anywhere near as knowledgeable within the asset vehicle, but that way, if Cole can evaluate the properties, look over them, stuff like that, eventually I want to manage them. But yeah, dude, that's awesome that, you're the first step really is just getting started, getting your foot in the door and, going through the process instead of worrying about the other things that could happen, later down the line, but solve the problem by avoiding it, as you mentioned before. And, know that when are these things going to happen? Am I prepared? Am I is it in the right location? How am I going to be able to maximize my revenue and my passive income from the property? So yeah, dude, 100% I agree with that. And that's definitely good knowledge.
Yeah, I think, kind of just, I guess, elaborating on everything we've kind of really gone over, the one thing I'm getting from you, Tyler, that, you keep saying is, the risk. But I think, it goes back to a little bit about my story, about me dropping out of college and about me taking that risk in order to go get my real estate license, to, build up liquidity, to start my business, to do different things that, the other people aren't doing. And like you said, for people that don't want to take that risk and don't do it, don't bitch about it. Because like you said, there are people out there that are taking that risk to do it, to be able to maximize, not only their ROIs and investments through their, investments, whether it's cryptocurrency, real estate, etc., but as well as their business and just the overall foundation that they're trying to build. And that kind of leads into my next question. Especially for me, I was wondering, has dropping out of college created any challenges for you? And if so, what are the biggest ones you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I think it's pretty evident that you do not need to go to college in 2022 and or years moving forward. Now, I went to Ohio State University, so I can tell you right now there's a lot of really cool intangibles like game day, partying it up with friends, meeting people. Actually, how I got in the mortgage industry and accelerated my learning curve and where I got a ton of value was from one of my college roommates, right? My insurance agent, old college roommate, right? So I do think that there are a lot of core life principles that you can learn in college, right? As far as networking, as far as time management, as far as discipline, as far as just having fun, right? But the key here is self-awareness, right? I believe that the number one trait for successful in terms of money and measuring, these certain things in life, it's self-awareness. I realized, hey, I'm going to college to earn money. This is a great opportunity. Worst case scenario, hey, Cole, you go back, right? Worst case scenario, the listener here that's on the fence, they're already 2-3 years in college. Dude, if you don't have it figured out now, when the fuck are you? You might need to drop out. You might need to go produce income, right? So all that to be said, it's just having that self-awareness to go, I'm betting on myself, right? And that's the best bet. In fact, it's actually not even risky. The biggest risk is doing nothing, That's the biggest opportunity cost that we have. So as far as challenges, I use it to my advantage. Versus looking at it as a challenge or, seeking the negativity of what people were going to think about me. I could give really zero fucks, when I made that decision. So,
yeah.
Amen.
And I think, for me, someone once told me, honestly, for people these days are having such a challenging time of, they're basically referring themselves to other people. They're, judging themselves or judging other people based on certain behaviors or certain beliefs. And I think it all kind of goes back to, for me, put yourself in a situation. If you want to be different, you have to go and do that and make yourself different. And I think sometimes it takes people to hit rock bottom to click that switch to be like, oh, damn, I actually have to go out and do something or I'm going to be on the side of the street. So, for me, it was like when I put myself in a situation where it's like, okay, now I'm getting into, feeding myself, doing these things, it pushes me to go so much harder. It pushes me, makes me uncomfortable. And like Brendan has taught so many times, and, you kind of elaborated on it, is putting yourself in a situation to make yourself uncomfortable. Because the problem where people fail and the reason they have 9-to-5 jobs is they get addicted to the paycheck, the consistency of having that same revenue income come in, week after week, and people become a slave to the paycheck. And I think, that, like you said, it kind of all leads back into investing. If you don't invest into it and you don't want to take that, educated risk, then stop bitching about it, because it honestly does come to the end of the day where it's all about how you're going to separate yourself. And I tell my viewers all the time, in order to be part of that 1% or even that 0.01%, you got to have that mentality that, you're going to succeed no matter what. And I'm really glad that
to add to that, a little plug in here, a little marketing plug. I'm releasing a book here in a couple months, and the first title is No Choice. What does that mean? You have to put yourself, your business, your mindset into a no choice situation, right? You have to go put the date on the calendar of when you're going to run the ultra marathon, or when you're going to lose the weight, or when you're going to make X amount of money, when you're going to go do X, Y, Z. You have to put yourself in a no choice situation. Our brains are designed to keep us comfortable. And if we're not putting ourselves in a no choice situation, then you're not going to grow. Right. So I totally agree with that. And at the end of the day, a couple things. One, if you think people are going to judge you, they probably don't give a fuck. So just quit thinking that people are going to judge you. They probably don't really care about you. Let's be honest. And the second piece is if they do, if it's your family, your friends, or people in your circle, it's 99.9, if not 100% of the time, them not being able to comprehend what you're about to do because they can't do it themselves, and they're trying to project their lousy peasant standards versus yours, right? And it's comparing yourself to mediocrity, which means nothing. So
yeah. Mr. Bossetti, going back to what you just said real quick, a wise man once told me pretty much something that you just said. He said, you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And going back to what you guys were saying is, when you're taking that risk, you need to have, educated risk. You're like, what separates you from a lot of the other people are like, well, how did you do that? Why did you do that? That's risky. It's not as risky if you understand the asset vehicle. You know how to do it from step 1 to step 10. You've gone through it, you've experienced it. And that's, what is separating, a lot of the young, successful people and millennials now compared to, how they were taught from our parents and so forth. So yeah, I agree that you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable and use that educated risk to really, elevate you overall in the world. So 100%.
Yeah. So back to the college example. Sorry, Cole, there to interrupt, but I think about this all the time. I'm like, people are like, well, what if it doesn't work out? You know what I'll do? I'll make a bunch of content on why you shouldn't do that, right? If Cole drops out, he fails his license test to be a realtor, or he becomes a realtor, he screws it all up, he can just start making a bunch of content for the X% of people in the world that believe in college. Hey guys, my name's Cole. I dropped out of college a year ago. I completely failed. I lost X amount of money. I lost X amount of time. I'm miserable. I'm depressed, blah, blah, blah. Here's the 3 reasons why you should stay in college. and just make all your content about that. Hey, I fucked up XYZ real estate deals, blah, blah, blah. Here's how you don't do the same. Pay me $10,000 to teach you how you can avoid that, right? I think a lot of people forget about that. They forget that, well, if I screw it up, we'll just talk about how we screwed it up and monetize that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
true.
someone in the comments, they said, elaborate a little bit more on 0% programs. So I think they kind of want you to elaborate a little bit on, what you exactly do, if that makes some sense for, if that's what they were trying to ask.
Yeah, sure. So we have, a core focus and a mission as a company to help at least 100,000 people reach financial independence. Financial independence is when your passive income exceeds your expenses, right? You can do whatever you want with your time, your energy, drink pina coladas at the beach, do whatever you want to do. But we have a few different programs. We have our FIA program, Financial Independence Accelerator. People go through course material. We teach them all about personal business credit, how credit works on the personal and business side. We help them secure on average 50 to 150K of 0% and low interest capital. Thousands of clients have come through that program, thousands of testimonials. Then we have our other program. We just released it a couple months ago, CIA. It is called Crypto Income Accelerator, which is where people are able to go through, again, course material, get educated on crypto, get educated on passive income through crypto. And then they have an opportunity to invest into our crypto mining facilities, also into our crypto nodes. That is essentially, in our opinion, the best way to earn passive income through crypto. And then we have our higher level masterminds with Realestate, our generational wealth mastermind. They get access to a ton of material from me, access to coaching calls with me. And then we have our QCM Quanto Crypto Mastermind. That is more Jeff. And that's, again, same situation, very high level, expert level, beginner, intermediate, expert level stuff with crypto. And all of those programs, you have access to a community. So I believe in business, there's really two key things, culture and community. So not only are you getting access to all this information, getting access to, at the end of the day, look, we want to help people get access to other people's money, grow their income, and reach financial independence and lower their tax liability. So all those programs are ultimately designed to do that. And then again, you're a part of a community, part of a brand, and obviously can come to our events and all that fun stuff. So hopefully that helps clarify the programs and things that we do. 100%.
And kind of, touching off of what you were saying about, your business and, you growing it and stuff like that. What has been your biggest influence in your business that has kind of helped you grow?
Phenomenal question. I think what we've discovered as far as the biggest influence for growth is being adaptable. And how do you be adaptable? You have self-awareness. And I will give you guys, I believe, a phenomenal example here. I was buying properties, 1 to 10 unit residential type properties at a great purchase price, which I believe is 75% of the ARV minus the rehab cost. So if you're listening in, write that down. How do I find a good deal? If you're trying to add value to it, AKA renovate it, remodel it, 75% of the ARV, the after repair value, what it's going to be worth, minus any rehab costs that you have affiliated with the project. Well, what I discovered is I need to be adaptable and I need to simplify and scale. How do we do that? We do that by getting more doors, right? Grant Cardone talks about it all the time. It's actually less risky. It really is. But in order to get there, you have to have network, liquidity, experience, and you have to remove that limited belief that I can go develop $70 million of real estate in the next 12 months, right? So being self-aware, right? And then secondly is being adaptable. Understand, hey, I can go get a lot of investors to go invest in this mining facility after doing 12 months of due diligence, and they're going to be getting even larger returns than what they would on a traditional real estate deal with appreciation, with cash flow, with tax advantages. So it's ripping the Band-Aid off to say, hey, we're going to change our business model a little bit, right? We're not going to change our mission as a company of helping people earn income and get access to other people's money to invest and reach financial independence. But as a company with our investment strategy, we have to adapt, right? We have to stay up with the new economy to say, hey, we got to get into this mining facility. We have to get into nodes. We have to scale into these larger projects. A lot of people will implement and then they stay there and then they get ran over, right? By companies that are adapting, that are changing. And then when they try to change, it's too late, right? And Amazon's a great example of this, of many things. You can Google and see how many times have Jeff Bezos failed and Amazon failed by trying to implement new products or services within Amazon. But when he's right, it explodes. And he talks about it all the time as well, which I love and I totally agree with, is if we try to adapt when it's too late, then you're screwed, versus trying to continuously add things in as you're growing and scaling. So one, self-awareness, two, being adaptable with introducing blockchain and crypto, things of that nature.
Yeah, I appreciate your insight on that, because, you know, me and Cole are really trying to grow and scale Brotherhood Finance, and we're pretty new at this, and we're trying to elevate. And I agree that having adaptiveness, and I really appreciate your insight on that and how imperative that is in a business, and really learning from your failures and your mistakes. I feel like that's something our education system fails to do. Is, you know, they teach you don't make mistakes, and obviously you want to avoid mistakes, but when you make those mistakes, you want to learn from them, and then moving forward, see how you can adapt and be aware of why you made that mistake and how you can avoid it and actually prosper in the future. So I definitely agree 100%, and that's definitely some great information about just being adaptive and really, you know, figuring out what's going to work in your industry and help scale your business overall.
Yeah, one thing I believe in is fail early, fail often, fail cheap.
Yeah. And I feel for me, especially, is, you know, failure is the best learning curve. You know, I kind of refer back to, you know, school. A lot of people, and I don't know, I'm sure you've noticed it, and I know Brendan has noticed it, and I know I have noticed it. The people that were those A+ students, that were, you know, the I guess just the overall best students in the class with the 4.0 and things like that, you know, they go into college and they're shook, because now they're, you know, getting B's and C's and they don't know how to deal with failure. Now, you know, they're going to, and then they're drinking, they're doing all these other things, you know, and it's just like, so I feel as almost like you were talking about earlier about with our education system, it almost teaches you not how to fail. Like it's almost like it's like teaching you, okay, if you know, if you fail, you're stupid, you're, you know, whatever. And I feel like, you know, I've seen, for me personally, more people that have C's and D's through all at high school and even in college are doing better than those people that were so, you know, harsh on themselves about being perfect. And the bottom line is, like you kind of said, is no one's perfect. No one can, everyone's going to make mistakes. It doesn't matter if you're Grant Cardone or you're, you know, Billy Bob Joe, that's homeless. You know, you made a mistake or you're going to make mistakes. It's about how to learn from them. And like you just said, you know, learn from them at a cheap cost, learn quick, and, you know, come up and be able to develop yourself in order to not make that mistake again.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I guess
So is that most of the questions for today?
I did have like one or two more, but I think he kind of just answered it, you know, throughout the podcast. It was, I guess, what is your favorite investment vehicle and for what reason? And you know, you elaborated on real estate, and you talked a little bit about cryptocurrency and how you use 0% in order to, you know, help people borrow against cryptocurrency, which is crazy, and, you know, definitely something that's going to change the world. And, you know, the last I guess question that I have, you know, wrapping it up, is how big do you think crypto will become? And do you think, you know, we're at our beginning stages? And if so, you know, what do you think the outlook is going to look like?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add to, it was the previous question there. What's the best investment vehicle? You are the vehicle, right? So choosing what vehicle you want to be in is, I believe, super key. And yeah, sure. I think it's pretty much impossible to argue that real estate is the best vehicle, because you have the immense amount of benefits that we listed off and Brandon had mentioned there. But it's all about what you keep in compound, and that's called tax benefits, tax advantages. But feed the beast. That's one thing I talk about all the time, is you got to feed the beast. So you can leverage IUL insurance accounts. You can leverage retirement accounts. You can leverage all these things to accumulate more real estate, vice versa, right? So that is one thing to keep in mind, is you are the vehicle, and feed the beast. And to be honest with you, most people need to go fucking make money. They need to go put every single penny, time, energy they have into their business versus worrying about an investment. You can't make investments unless you have income. So if anything, everyone listening to this should just be like, screw it, not going to get distracted, focus on this business. 2, 3, 4, 10x my income the next 12 months. Then a great problem to have is go, oh, wow, I have a shitload of taxes I need to pay. My business is running smooth and it's scaling. Now I can go make investments. All right. And then as far as the size of crypto, yeah, I think we're at the very beginning stages. We're going to see mass adoption, which we're seeing right now. I mean, look, institutional money, big money has not really came in that much yet, right? We're at a couple $1 trillion market cap, and the real estate industry globally is a $300+ trillion market cap. It's significantly more, but in reality, crypto is the digital real estate, right? I believe it's going to be involved in everything that we do through blockchain technology, through interrupting traditional finance. So all that to be said, look at what institutions are doing and governments are doing versus what they're saying. Follow the money. You'll have the CEO of Chase Bank say, well, I don't really believe in crypto, but then they're allowing their clients to invest, right? Or maybe he's investing. That's not the point I'm getting at as far as, the CEO of Chase, but in reality, don't listen to what people are saying, listen to what people are doing. And the last piece of all of this is the big institutional money, the government money that is flooding in, and it's going to take off.
I agree. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of adoption, and like you said, it's really just, and it's following that curve of like the internet, the adoptional growth curve, and you can kind of compare and contrast those. And I mean, I think there's some statistic where it's not even like 5% of the everyday investors even in cryptocurrency. So it just has, massive opportunity. And I think as far as asset vehicles, real estate is definitely the best to preserve and grow your wealth and, be able to do that. But I think crypto is definitely another great one that is going to be very transformational over the coming years. Real quick, Mr. Bossetti, I do want to thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. The gratitude that I have for you coming on Brotherhood Finance, informing our audience. And we'll make sure to have all of your links down below. I hope you guys found tremendous value in this podcast. If you've not had the opportunity to do so already, please make sure to smash that thumbs up button for Mr. Bossetti joining us today. Make sure to check out 0%. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Cole, do you have anything you want to wrap up on?
Yeah. And I actually have one more question that I think not only our viewers, but everyone at home that watches this, whether it's now, whether it's, this week or even, next month, next year. I think this is a question that, a lot of people, especially with people that are in your position, want to know. And it goes back to, if you could go back and tell your future self your prior knowledge up to this point, what would you say or do differently?
Phenomenal question. Act on your intuition faster. Okay. That would be it, because I knew when I left the mortgage industry, when I left college, when I knew that we had to get into crypto mining, I knew months before I made the decision. Now, that being said, I had to go through the framework of thinking out the scenarios, thinking out the due diligence, doing the numbers. But at the end of the day, to get tribal here, to get, down a rabbit hole of spirituality, down a rabbit hole of how human beings are designed, there's a direct link to our gut, to our brain, right? When we have that gut feeling, when we have that intuition, that's what's unique about humans. So if there's anything I could have, told myself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is, Tyler, when your gut knows, act on it sooner than later. And that's exactly what I would tell myself, and I would challenge the listeners here is, the answer of what you need to do, right? You know what you need to do. So go do it. Our brains are designed to keep us comfortable.
Yeah. And I'm glad that, we touched on earlier how, being uncomfortable is being comfortable. And it's almost to where, you know, the minute that you're comfortable, you know, you got to know in your head to flip that switch and to get it going again. Because, you know, if you have these goals, you know, what I tell everybody is, you know, I like people to make a roadmap. I like people to say, all right, you know, yes, you can have these long-term goals. If you want to own 5,000 doors or 5,000 units, great. But what are you going to do in the next month to make that goal happen? So it's almost about planning out each year and then planning out each month, because I think it's very vital for people in order to obtain their goals is to have those small victories along the way. And I feel like that is a big part of keeping people's interest, but also keeping people on the track to success. Because if they don't have those little wins, and then they have all these losses, or, you know, not losses but lessons, how is a person going to react? And, you know, just going throughout history and going throughout our society these days, you know, if we're not making, you know, Grant Cardone money, we're failures, right? But that's what people see, you know, on the internet. But at the end of the day, it's whatever you want to do. And Brendan talks about it all the time. You know, making money is great. You know, doing all these things great. But how are you going to be able to get to that 1%? And like you talked about, it's through real estate. It's through, you know, cryptocurrencies and things like that. But you have to work your ass off to get to that point where you can. And then basically, like you said, borrow other people's money and, you know, leverage the money from the banks, you know, leverage it from, you know, private investors and things like that in order to build what you want to build. So.
100%.
Yeah, there's no crystal ball, right? Work hard, have fun. It gets to be fun. Doesn't have to be stressful. Are there stressful moments? Sure, but it's all in your head, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the stories are all in our head, and there's three things I'll leave you guys with: is own, obtain, and optimize. Most people are stuck in the own, right? They don't even know how to own their story. They don't even know how to articulate who they are, what they do. They don't know how to own their past. They don't know how to own their story, which is why people don't go onto social media and say, well, you know, I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to be that. Okay, well, you're just throwing labels on yourself. How about you build yourself an identity, own your shit, be able to say, yeah, I lost everything in 2016. This is what happened to me in my life, this, and this, which is exactly why the Grant Cardones, people like me, can get a lot of attention. And as you guys know, where attention goes, money flows, because, hey, we've ripped off the mask. Here I am. Then you start obtaining skill sets, you start obtaining assets. Then you got to optimize those things, right? Then you got to be making adaptable changes. So if there's anything that you need to do, if you're a listener here, is can you tell your story confidently and can you own it and then go, okay, it's not about me, it's about you, right? I don't care about other people's opinion. I value my opinion more about myself than I do somebody else. Let's get out there. Let's start getting people to know me. I don't care if they like me or they love me. I just care if they know me.
How important would you say it is for someone for basically you to sit here and say, how important do you think it is for someone to know who I am when it comes to real estate transactions? Do you think it is important, you know, when you're, you know, saying, hey, you know, this is who I am, you know, in different areas? Or do you think it's, you know, do you think someone that is well-known compared to someone that isn't well-known will get the deal, vice versa?
It's everything. People don't, how do you get into real estate? Number one, you find a good deal. It doesn't matter if you're using the bank's money, property manager. How do you find a deal, fund a deal, manage a deal, exit a deal? It doesn't matter about the refinance until you have a fucking property. Well, how do you get a property? People know who the hell you are, right? People have to know who the hell you are. So if anything, you go, wow, a lot of people know me and I need to figure out step 2, 3, 4. But guess what? If a lot of people know me, those people are probably going to help me do step 2, 3, or 4. So that is why I have an immense amount of respect for Cardone and you know, a lot of people that are viewed as whatever, you know, label you want to throw onto them, but a lot of people know him. And he's gotten a lot of deals, I'm sure, from people knowing him. So
awesome. All right, Brendan, you want to wrap it up and hit this outro?
Yeah, 100%. Again, guys, I appreciate you watching all the way through. Again, we're going to have Mr. Bossetti's links down below. We'll make sure to link 0% if you want to check out their programs. Dude with massive amount of experience and knowledge, able to transform your life in a multitude of ways. As he mentioned, if you want to get involved in real estate, crypto. We'll make sure to leave their links down below. If you've watched the video this far onward, please make sure to smash a thumbs up button. It really means a lot. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And again, check out 0%. Check out Tyler Bossetti on Instagram, on YouTube, and Jeff Seckinger. I appreciate all your time. I hope you have a good rest of your day, a good rest of your weekend. Peace, brothers.